right? There's also probability, which I hope you all know what probability is if you passed some form of math in middle school.
Yeah, I'll talk about more of this stuff next.
Yeah. So it's crucial that you know what is what, because if you accidentally have this example and you say, oh, we outweigh on time frame or something like that, your judge is going to be like, no, you don't. So be careful with your wording for that.
Yeah, exactly. So go ahead. All right, so there's, again, as we said, there's a lot of ways to weigh. Go ahead. So first you have magnitude, as Tuba said, one of the most common ways of weighing. So this is basically looking at the severity of the impacts and comparing the severity of each impact. You can just click through. Yeah, that's fine. So again, another example is like my impact. So this is what you would say in round, right? So in a rebuttal speech or a summary speech, you'd say, my impact outweighs on magnitude because it results in millions of deaths, whereas my opponent's impact only results in a slight decrease in the pharmaceutical industry, or something like that, right? Death is obviously more severe than a decrease in the pharmaceutical industry, right? So right then and there, you say, therefore, we outweigh on magnitude, and that's why we build the round. Then you have something called scope, which is the number of people impacted. So I outweigh on scope because my impact results in a pandemic which affects all countries, while my opponent's impact of civil war is unique to one nation. But there's the tricky part, is comparing these two. Because obviously, let's just see, like a mild pandemic, let's just say, not COVID, but just a very mild pandemic affects everyone in the world, right? But a civil war kills people. So what has more of an impact? A pandemic that affects everyone, or just a civil war that affects a few but affects them severely? That's what you do in round. You compare these impacts and make it so that you either outweigh on scope, magnitude, maybe even both, things like that. And you have to convey to your judge, hey, this is why my impacts are so much greater than my opponent's, and that's why we win the round. Cool. All right. Those are the two most common. Now it's getting to a little less common, but these are still very, very important because you will use them throughout your high school, like, debate career, guaranteed. Then you have time frame, which is the time it takes for an impact to occur. So my impact outweighs on time frame because people will lose their healthcare right away, as compared to my opponent's harm of global warming extinction, which will take decades or centuries to take place. Right? So essentially, solve my problem first because it's right away and it impacts all of us now, rather than my opponent's, which is like way later. Right? Cool. So basically, yeah, the time or order needed to act. So it outweighs on time frame because healthcare plan is enacted faster and thus can save more lives right away. So that's how you can outweigh on time frame. Yeah, basically, all in essence, it's short-term impacts versus long-term impacts. And in some instances, yes, you consider short-term impacts. Some you consider long-term. It depends all on the resolution, how you debate the round, and what your points are. But yes.
I would say for organic agriculture, time frame will probably be important because a lot of the arguments are like climate change and access to food and things like that that directly affect people. So time frame will be one of the most important things that you guys want to look at. If you guys can find research about, oh yeah, this like accessibility will increase by this much by 2030 or something along that area or line, that's a good thing and you should have that on hand.
Exactly. So next we have probability, which all of you probably know what this means. It's how likely something is to occur. So you'll say, my impact outweighs on probability because it's almost certain that citizens will lose their health care, but my opponent's impact of nuclear war has a probability of slim to none. Right? So basically, pretty logical. If your opponent is saying like an argument that's basically like just won't happen, or is very, very, very unlikely to happen, like alien invasion or something, you can outweigh it on probability, saying that, hey, will happen once the resolution is, or like once the topic happens, or whatever happens, this will happen, except my opponent's is like very, very slim to none to happening. So outweigh on probability there. Basically, yeah, you can compare like it's true in 100% of cases, but my opponent is using cherry-picked evidence, and there's a high probability his argument is just simply false. right? So when it comes to weighing, you usually do it in multiple combinations of a lot of these types of weighing. So maybe you'll do a probability weighing and also a scope weighing, or like probability magnitude or something like that, right? Cool. And there is one more form of weighing that we have. It's called reversibility. So essentially, it's the reversibility of your impact. So can the damage be undone? So my argument outweighs on reversibility because global warming past a certain threshold can't be reversed, while my opponent's economic damage impacts can always be repaired. Right? Again, pretty logical. If your impacts can be reversed eventually, like they can come back, or the economy can bounce back, whatever it may be, that's less of a big impact than something like extinction, which can never come back again. Right? So yeah. So reversibility, again, you use all of these in combination with other stuff.
I will say reversibility is so uncommon. I in my 4 years, I have never heard anybody run reversibility. Probably because it's one of the hardest to run, frankly, but yeah, just be careful with that one because if you run it wrong, that can really damage you. So just be careful, but it's a good thing to know.
I've heard it a few times, not very much, just as Tuba said, but the times I have heard it, it has been effective though. So using like weighing mechanisms like this, it's not common, especially in the novice level. But by teaching you guys this, and if you guys go into the novice circuit next year and actually say this type of stuff, you will win rounds. Because one, these are advanced concepts that not a lot of people know about. And two, these are ways how you win arguments. Whether it may be in debate or outside of debate, whatever it may be, you have to weigh on whose impacts are greater or why your point actually matters. So yeah. All right. So first, do you guys have any questions about weighing and stuff? Like it's a little difficult. Yeah. Go ahead. Hmm? Oh, yeah. Could you go back to probability? Nice. Yeah. Yeah, so like let's just say same going off of Alex's example, you know, you have one study out of like 100 that so let's just say that one team has one study that says that organic agriculture is good, which isn't true. But yeah, let's just say one study saying organic agriculture is true and like 30 saying it's bad. Yeah? And the reasoning for both of them is like organic agriculture helps climate change, and then 30 of them say it harms like the efforts for climate change. Obviously, the probability that that's true is pretty low because one, it's just one study, and two, you have 30 studies on your side versus one. So that's kind of like the second chunk to what probability means is pretty much like the chance of an argument actually being true. So in that case, it seems like this evidence is like cherry picked, you know, which means it's kind of unlikely that the there's a pretty high probability that like the argument is just like not true, you know, or it's a fluke or whatever it may be. So yeah. Any other questions about weighing? All right. How well did you guys understand weighing and stuff? Like 100%, nothing at all, you know, like a range, gauge range. Okay, that's good. Awesome. That's good. All right, so let's try a little bit of weighing. All right, we'll do a few drills, a game activity. We'll see. So first, let's have 2 people, any 2 volunteers, not the 2 that did super fight, but 2 volunteers up at the front. You 2?
Let's do different partners though. So
Oh yeah.
it's more Ivan gonna do it and Alex.
Okay, cool. Make your way up to the front, and everyone's gonna need to do this anyway, so
Yes.
may as well. Hmm? Okay. All right. Sounds good. So this is a bit of a drill on weighing and how to make your impact seem really big. Obviously, you're not going to do it to this extent in round, but let's just try it out. So let's think of something super arbitrary. Just one person, anyone, just say something like an argument that's super super neutral. Just I don't know, like cats are good or something like that. Yeah, go ahead. Neutral as in like you can't even take a stance on it. So like not even cat is good. Just like cats are related to lions or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Something that there really isn't a stance on. So anyone example? Yeah, go ahead. Say it again. I can't hear you. Are aliens real? No. Well, that you can like answer with a yes or no though. Just something that's just a plain fact. Mm. I need something that's like you can't even make a side on is the thing. Okay, well, that's okay. Let's just do this. Let's just do this. Okay, okay. There are fish in the ocean. All right, straight fact. No side you can take on this. There are fish in the ocean. Okay, so both of you guys have to make like crazy, crazy link chains. So the resolution, the topic, let's just say, is there are fish in the ocean. Okay. Now you have to take those chains and make them. There are fish in the ocean, which means that their like poop fossilizes, which means that like the future generations will find it, like stuff like that. You know, you have a really, really elaborate link chain, which will lead to the biggest impact you can possibly make. The craziest one, the wackiest one. Okay, do that. Now both of you guys, I'll give you like, I don't know, 2 minutes to figure that out. All right. So weirdest impacts possible, make that link chain starting now. All of you guys will vote on this. Which one is like the best, most solid link chain to like the craziest impacts as well? So you're considering both the chain and the impacts. No, we'll all eventually do this, but like we'll vote on it. Just have some fun. Yeah. Rockets or rocks have minerals? Yeah, we can do that next if we want. Right. Oh, it is. Okay. Hi, live stream once again. We have story time with Tuba.
Okay, so last year, my junior year, our first topic that we ran was about an NFU, which stands for no first use. It was about a nuclear no first use policy and whether the United States should establish it. Basically saying that, hey, maybe the United States shouldn't use nuclear weapons first in case of a conflict. So we were debating about that. And there was a team that basically they were like, no, or we should not use nuclear weapons first, because if we establish a no first use policy, all of that nuclear intelligence that the United States has goes to Switzerland. Yes, it goes to Switzerland. And Switzerland is going to use it for their nuclear physics. And then Switzerland is going to create a big particle accelerator that is going to use that nuclear power and that nuclear intelligence. And it's going to collapse the entire universe. Is basically what they said. Yes.
In a round.
Yes. It wasn't against me. It was against Coco.
Why?
It was so bad. No.
Quite a few missing links in that chain.
There were,
Yeah, why Switzerland?
because Switzerland already engaged in some nuclear espionage.
They have the mass particle accelerator.
Yeah, no, that's what they were talking about. They were like, oh, yeah, because the United States isn't relying on nuclear weapons as much. Okay, so do you guys know what mutually assured destruction is? Yeah, okay. So they were like, oh, yeah, we don't have mutually assured destruction anymore because the United States isn't using nuclear weapons. So we're not going to be focused on nuclear weapons as much, so that intelligence that we had is going to go to Switzerland because Switzerland was engaging in espionage or something, or we're getting U.S. secrets. And then they were going to use it to create this particle accelerator with nuclear power, but make it work, a bigger one. And then it's going to explode and it's going to collapse the entire universe, is literally what they said. Yeah, basically.
Wait, actually, there was this whole scare thing that happened a few years ago. I don't know why I know this, but the particle accelerator thing, people were super scared and protested against it because they thought that it would create a black hole and kill us all.
Oh my god, I remember.
It was actually a pretty big movement against the particle accelerator.
You know why? I remember there were people that were protesting it and on Twitter to me, and I was like, we were discussing it, and you know what their reasoning was? Have any of you watched The Flash? Yeah, so in The Flash is created because this scientist guy created a particle accelerator, and then it exploded, and it created a lightning bolt that hit Barry Allen and created him to be the Flash. So that's what they thought would happen with this particle accelerator. And I was like, yes. And I was like, we're not living in the DC comics. That's not gonna happen. Don't ask me. But yeah, that was probably the stupidest link chain I've ever heard in my life for an argument. Same thing with bees. Bees was a really stupid argument that I went against. There's just lots of bad ones. Yes, you have a question, Savia? No? Okay. Michael, you have a question? Okay. Okay. It's 10:45.
I have an example. So yeah, I've heard aliens overrunning the world before, quite a few times, surprisingly. Even on the dumbest things too, Actually, aliens is a whole weird thing. It just doesn't make sense, and I also don't remember the exact link chain. But what I do remember is when I did LD, the topic was we shouldn't have nuclear weapon arsenals anymore. We should get rid of them or whatever. And one of the people said, my case was saying that getting rid of nuclear weapons means that we have to dispose of all of them safely, right? But the problem is, in like today's world, how we dispose of nuclear weapons is like we literally just dump it in the ocean, which is bad. And then no. Sorry. Opposite. Flip that around. That was my opponent's argument that it's bad that they just dump it in the ocean. And then I asked like, hey, so when they dump it in the ocean, they like destroy it and scatter it all, right? And she's like, yes. So that's basically what they do. And then I said, okay, so why is radiation that big of a deal if it's scattered throughout the whole ocean? Is like all the radioactive matter or whatever. And she went on this whole like link chain in her rebuttal about how when we dump radioactive material in the ocean, it kills all the fish. Somehow, magically, just kills all the fish. And when all the fish die, then all the sharks die. And when all the sharks die, there's no predators in the ocean, which means then it's somehow overrun by fish again, which died already. And then the ocean loses all of its like life because the fish eat it all, and then we die because now there's no more ocean all of a sudden, so there's like just no more ocean. I don't know. I genuinely don't know what happened to all the water. Like at that point, like I don't know what she's doing. So exactly, and then she said that all humans will die, and when humans die, all the Earth's like animals and stuff rely on humans. Like every single animal relies on humans, so all the animals die, and then the Earth can't sustain anymore because the animals run the Earth. Actually, what she said. So the Earth collapses. Yes. Yes. Unfortunately, yes. It was some stupid parent judge who had no idea what was going on, and. I don't know, man. That was dark time.
Was that during NFU?
Oh, no. That was LD.
Oh.
Yeah. Of which you shouldn't be having parent judges in the first place, but I got paired with a parent judge against some random kid from Aberdeen. And, yeah, huh? No, that's not allowed. Nepotism is not allowed in debate. So, except... but but anyway, so wackiest link chain, and she actually ended up somehow winning. I don't know, because the judges are supposed to write down why they voted for a team, but she magically did not. She just voted for the person. I don't even know if she made a mistake or not either, because she just like circled the like AF side, you know, but like you don't know if that was her reasoning, or if she actually voted for the other person, or if it was just a mistake, or whatever it may be. So, I ended up losing that round. But yeah, crazy weird link chains. Me? Okay, I guess another thing about delinking stupid link chains is essentially I just got up there and said, first of all, no. That makes no sense. Second of all, radiation, and then I actually addressed like the core argument there that like, you know, dumping radiation is bad. So essentially what I said is like dumping radiation isn't necessarily like that bad, especially if you do it in a proper way, which like the countries are doing, you know. They de-enrich the like the radioactive material and then dump it all scatter it across the ocean. Also, the ocean has radioactive material in it, period. Like naturally existing uranium, whatever it may be, it already has it. So, like impacts-wise, not even a big deal. And funny thing, her own study said that, which I pulled and like showed that or whatever. So I don't know what happened, but yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, basically, yeah. I don't know. Yeah. So that's what happened. Yep. Things can get a bit weird in debate rounds, and especially this is not common at all in LD. Like this just barely ever happens. But public forum, it's still not very common at all, but it can happen and probably has a little more likelihood than LD does because of the nature of it. Like you can make really like when you guys got up here and made like from plants use sunlight or like there are fish in the ocean, you made that into such huge impacts. Same thing, right? Public forum allows that kind of course to take where you convert it into impacts. But yeah. Exactly. So yeah. All right. Next up, who is next that has not gone yet? So, Caden, do you want to go next? All right, Caden and Michael. Let's do it. Not very good. Yeah.
Wait, it's locked out, I think. Go ahead.
Just a bit about blocks and rebuttal strategy and stuff. Not very much, but yeah. All right. Ready, guys? Huh? All right, we'll do that. Yeah. Sky's blue. Classic. Two ready? Got 2 minutes on the clock. Ready, set, go. I feel like if it came up, if that was one of the topics, if that like pertained to the topic at all, it probably would happen to some extent. Yeah.
I think we hit something like that on the NSA topic. Not exactly that, but something along that line of like. Oh, hold on. I have to think.
These were quite long times. They were a long time ago for us.
Yeah, it was last January.
That's not as long ago as I thought.
No, but in debate, I think it is.
Yeah, that's true.
It's been like a year and a half.
It was weird because like 6 months, like on Shark Tank, there was this person who was like, all right, so electromagnetic radiation exists from far devices, right? So therefore, electromagnetic radiation is inherently bad, and people die from it. They get cancer, they get headaches, everyone dies. The reason that people are dying is electromagnetic radiation. So therefore, I made you bracelets. They have negatively charged ions to protect you from the electromagnetic radiation. And you pitched in the Shark Tank.
Oh my gosh.
What did they say? I'm curious.
So, I mean, like, we were obviously, like, skeptical.
Well, yeah. At that point, I would just say no. Like, no, get out of
so
here.
they offered him, he offered him, like, their bracelets for electromagnetic radiation. And so one of the people was like, this feels like it's made out of rubber. And he said, no, it's made out of negatively charged ions.
Oh, just straight ions. That's nice.
Just solid just solid ions.
Solid ions. Yeah, that makes sense. All right, 2, 1, sorry. Go. That's good. All right, ready?
Sure.
Go.
We all know that the sky is blue, but what does this entail for the future? Well, first of all, I'm going to quickly go around and say that water isn't blue. Water is just reflecting the sky above. And so then we can go and say that there is no blue within nature. It's all greens and reds, which means that the sky is taking all of the blue. And someday, we will run out of blue, which means there will be no more blue in art. And this means that art will die, and people enjoy making art. And that means that people will be sad, and when people are sad, they become angry. And this means that wars will spark. Thusly, the sky is the ending for humanity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good.
So long.
Nice. All right, go ahead.
We all know the sky is blue in daytime, which leads to the night being dark. And in the future, this indicates that there might be more daytime, or we don't know if there's more daytime or nighttime. And actually, can I give more time to that?
Just think of something off the top of your head. Just randomly. It doesn't matter what it is.
The sky is blue in the daytime, which leads to the night being dark. And in the dark time, people get scared, which leads to people being depressed, and that tells us that impacts us, because the dark time is really depressing.
All right. Nice. Good job. What's your good one?
Sky's blue, obviously we can't celebrate. There is no blue in nature, all greens and red, but everybody wants what they don't have. So obviously they're gonna want blue. And so the sky is blue, it's all the blue that there is. They're gonna start wanting that blue. So they're gonna try to get that blue, they're gonna start sacrificing themselves.
Dang.
So they can go and go up and up.
Morbid.
Everybody chooses like human destiny, you know? Everybody chooses
Blues are God, and we
No,
should
it's gonna be
sacrifice.
just give me blue.
Alright, who thinks Caden won? Who thinks Michael won? Oh, that's okay. Alright,
Right.
Michael, you win! What do you...
Wait, Kaden.
Caden won?
Kaden won. Yeah, 4-3.
Oh, okay, Caden won. I'm sorry, I lied. What flavor you want?
Cherry, lemon, orange.
One of the first ones.
Good job, guys. All right.
Yes. You want to go next? Okay, Isabella, and who wants to go against Isabella?
All right.
Colin will.
Here we go. So next.
What's our prompt? We'll do...
Elephants eat grass.
Elephants don't eat grass.
Yeah, they
Do they?
do. Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah?
I thought they were carnivores.
Tuba! No!
Are you sure?
Oh my god. I'm gonna ignore you. I'm just gonna-
Wait, do elephants eat grass?
Yes!
Are you sure?
Do they?
Yeah,
I thought they eat leaves. How
They-
do
and-
would they grab with like their trunks and like
Yeah.
pull it?
Wait, I thought they were carnivores.
Bruh, Tuba, don't say this.
Why would they ride them in circuses?
don't
That's
know.
kinda scary.
I mean,
I don't
they
know.
have type. Do they have tigers?
Yeah, they do.
Mhm.
Tigers and lions usually, right?
I just gone to a circus.
They do like the
I think
flaming
they're probably
hoops.
banned nowadays, but I don't know.
Yeah, circuses are not very good.
Alright, but yeah.
I mean, they kind of came back because of The Greatest Showman
Well,
in like 2017, but now they're
Alright,
pretty much gone.
ready for the topic? Elephants eat grass. Ready? Go.
I didn't know that. I feel like I should have known that, but I just,
What would they eat? Elephants?
I don't know.
What could they even catch?
I don't know. When you think elephants, I think peanuts.
Then it would be a carnivore.
No, but peanuts are like treats. I feel like I've only ever seen them eat peanuts.
Oh. It's okay. We live in the Midwest, I guess it's fair. There's no elephants here. Other than circuses.
My hands sweat.
one link. This is such a bad marker.
Hello, live streamers. We're back.
You had one link, right? Both of you had the same link, and you took that. You had the same internal link as well. But then you diverged paths here, and then you had different internal links, and then different impacts, right? So yeah, this is something that can happen in PF as well, where you can take it multiple directions. It's not just like fixed. You have, and that's why you have multiple impacts, multiple links, because there's. That's why you have multiple impacts, multiple links, is because you can take it any direction you want, and that's like the flexibility that's really useful. Okay, so next up is break time for all of you guys. So let's take like 5-minute break. Come back, or a little more than 5. Let's come back at 11:15. All right, sounds good. Cool. See you guys in a bit. Go walk around, do some stuff, get active because we have a long day ahead. See ya. All right, take out laptops, notes, everything else. And we'll start in a bit. Do you have the black marker up there? And red. Thank you. All right. Everyone ready? Good? I'll wait for a little bit. Oh. Honestly, I like this. I'll just leave up some of the drawings around the room. So if you guys want to draw stuff around the room during breaks or something, go for it. Because they look fun and it brings energy to the room. So it's good. Except maybe these. These are kind of creepy, but it's fine. Huh? More Chad cats? Maybe. Maybe. Okay. I'm proud of that gorilla. That gorilla is actually like half decent. Like, yeah, exactly. The other ones that's Canada. I had the Canadian flag up there, so maybe. That's how gorillas are. They have like forward ridges. Yeah, they just have like very far eyebrow ridge. All right, ready, guys? Ready to go? All right. Sounds good. All right, next slide, please. Alrighty, so rebuttal once again. So the thing why it's rebuttal is a very, very hard speech, right? It's because you have to address every single part of the flow. So organization is absolutely crucial. And because, see, you only get 4 minutes to respond to every single thing on the flow. And that's if you're first speaker. So if you're first speaker, you have the easiest rebuttal of the round because you get 4 minutes to respond to your opponent's 4-minute case. And even that is hard because you have to make up arguments on the spot, right? But if you're a second speaker, well, then you're in for a treat because you only get 2 minutes essentially to respond to your opponent's arguments and then 2 minutes to respond to your opponent's responses against yours. So rebuttal is hard, but fear not because this is why we debaters use stuff called blocks, which are whole responses against arguments that we anticipate that we'll come across. You know, we talked about this too. So blocks are very, very concise, and they're very, very, very powerful if used correctly. So let's practice a little bit with blocks because this is something that's, you know, very important in debate as well. So here's an example of one of my blocks from a previous topic, previous case, whatever. I think it was this year as well. So you see on this side is all the blocks that, there are not even all of them. There's like 30 of them, I think. So 30 predicted arguments that I had from what I thought people might run. And yeah, this is like national qualifiers thing, so like I actually like really went try hard on this. But yeah, so 30 different arguments that I predicted people would run. Or like, you know, saw people running and made blocks to them, right? One of the examples was Ukraine. So I numbered them to make it so that on my flow, what I can do is, so if they have like contention 1, Ukraine, subpoint A, like blah, 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 B, blah, right? All right, and then they have their impact. What I can do is instead of spending a ton of time in round or in my prep time figuring out, okay, let's understand this argument, and then like my first response is blah, 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 and then actually write it out, second response like that. All I do is I do this. Group it all together, AT6. What that means is answer 2, number 6, which on here is Ukraine. That way, what I can do is when I get up in my rebuttal, I can be like, all right, group together the whole contention 1. We have how many responses? 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 responses. First, and then you read like evidence. So basically how a block works is you have very concise levels of arguments. So as you can see, the most important arguments go on top. What are the most important? Remember that? Turn and turn. So there's 2 ways to turn their case against them. And the evidence with the citation, the source, the last name, and the year, and then the evidence like quoted directly from the source, or the card, essentially, is right here. Same with this one, same with this one, same with this one. Cool? So when it comes to blocks, so what I usually do is I make sure that these blocks are between like 30 and 45 seconds, somewhere around there. This one's a little bit longer, it looks like, but if you're really like organized, I'm not very organized, but I should be, what people do is they write the number of seconds that it takes them to read the block up there. So people go crazy with organization, which is very important. So based on how much time they have to read the block, they read certain numbers of blocks and say how many responses they have. That way, you don't just have one response, you have multiple that your opponent has to answer. And when you're flowing it, remember when we're flowing super fight, how flowing rebuttal is pretty hard, right? Exactly what your opponent is responding to, what they're responding with. When you number your responses like this, which some of you have already started doing, which is absolutely great, it makes it so much easier because all you have to do when you're flowing the rebuttal is their first response is blah, blah, blah. Second response is blah, 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 right? And it makes it so much easier because in summary, or even in final focus, you can say, look at the third response I put on their contention 1. This goes unanswered. Extend that through the round. We win because blank. Yeah? Just makes everything so much easier when you number things. So yeah, basically, that's how I make my blocks. As long as you use something similar to this, something that works for you, all is good. But you have evidence, you have very concise analysis and taglines, summaries of what you're talking about, what your claim is, and usually they're very short and brief blocks that you make. So yeah, go for it.
So, yes, and additionally, this does differ per team. So this is how Aditya and his team writes their blocks. I'm going to show you how Maddie and I do ours. I think it's in here. Where is this? So this was also during the same topic. If it'll click open, please. Thank you. So kind of the same idea with all of the headings. So here are all of our answer twos, and instead of AT, we do A2 because we just learned it that way. So ours are all like hyperlinked. So you click this, and so let's say I want to go to multilateral over bilateral. I will click this, and it'll take me directly to this block. And then Maddie has like a separate document that she puts all of these blocks into. And then she just reads them through that. It's really funny because we have like a 30-page document from all of our rounds that just like keeps going and going and going because we just never delete anything on there. So these are what ours look like. Here's our tag, and then here's the citation, right? And then the bolded is the stuff that Maddie reads. So this is what we do. We don't, on our flows, it makes it easier for me as a first speaker when I have the exact arguments written down. So I don't write like the number like Aditya does, but like that's a personal preference. If it makes sense to Aditya, then it works for him.
Actually, here's the difference though, I can tell you. So for me, on my flow, I do this. But for Elijah, who's my partner, first speaker, he doesn't do this because he needs to know exactly what the arguments are, just as Tuba said. So he writes a brief. So what he does is he does write this number up top, just so he can refer back to what evidence I used. But he also writes this. He does this. He writes a short summary of what, or even 1 or 2 words, because he'll know what cards, what evidence we're using. He'll do that so then in the future, in his summary speech, he can pull that forward and talk more about it if he needs to. Yeah. So for rebuttal speakers, I do this. But for summary, you should do this at least, for summary.
It gets intense to the point where my explanations that I write for my rebuttal flowing is literally the name of the card. So on my flow, I will literally write Olberg, and I know what it says. So that's you guys don't need to memorize all of your blocks. Don't do that yet. But when you get into varsity, that's what you should start doing because it just makes it easier to say it on top of your head.
And the thing is, like, no one I hope no one intentionally sits down and tries to memorize each block and what it means and like use flashcards and stuff. As you do more rounds on the topic, you start to remember the cards that you use most, right? The most powerful tools in your tool shed. You start to remember where they are and what they're called. So that's why blocks are so useful, is because you start to know the things you're running. And even then, it gets to the point where, like, this is the national qualifiers topic, and this box is from then. So by the end of that, we had so many rounds on this topic that Elijah, the second they said contention 1 Ukraine, he knew exactly what I was running, exactly what cards I had, every argument I had, and everything I was going to say instantly. Because we've done it so many times. So practice makes perfect, obviously. So yeah. So this is an example, and then you saw Tuba's example of blocks too. So that's what you guys will be doing as well. Because, again, very helpful. So yeah. So first, what we need to do is we got to identify stock arguments. So again, stock arguments are the ones that are most common for the topic. So let's brainstorm a bit. So we'll be writing blocks like right now even. So open up your laptops. Let's get ready. And let's do this. All right. So we got pro side, con side. Okay. Oh. All right. So, what are some stock pro arguments? Yeah, Caden. Why organic agriculture is good.
We said about like how organic farming has better pesticide effects.
All right. So, less pesticide. Good. Good first argument. What's some more? Yeah. Nice, nice. All right. Good, good. Some more, Nikki? All right. One more? Just do one more. Come on, guys. Let's go. Because this helps you. This helps you, remember? Yeah. Huh? Human health, right. Good one. Good job, guys. Awesome. So yeah, these are the probably the biggest stock arguments for this topic for pro side, right? So now, wait, let's just do this. All right. Now, let's think of responses against them. Let's look at less pesticide use. If we were on the con side, how would we respond to less pesticide use? Yeah.
USDA has a list of synthetic pesticides that are organic farming.
Okay.
You're not actually removing pesticides.
Good.
There's still pesticides that you use.
Yes, perfect. Yeah. So still, oh my God. So organic still uses pesticide. And again, you should back that up with a card, right? But basically, these are the arguments. That's a great argument. Do we have at least one more for less pesticides? Any more? Yeah.
Like the pesticide usage, according to a journal, says that the pesticides that are allowed can sometimes even have a greater environmental effect.
Oh. So, do you know what kind of argument that's called? Exactly. That's a great turn, saying that organic pesticides actually can be worse. That's a great argument because what did you just do? You just made it so that the argument of organic agriculture is better because it uses less pesticides. You just flip that on them because you said those pesticides are worse. That's a great argument. That's a great turn. So, really important to have in your blocks, in your case, whatever you may have, right? Yeah, exactly. That's true. Oh.
I just want to mention one thing. Like, these are other terms that you can also use. So that first one on the pesticides, the organic agriculture still uses pesticides. That is an argument that you can technically classify. We call it non-unique, which means that so the argument that pro is making less pesticides is not unique to the resolution. That means either way, if you vote pro or con, am I saying this?
Yeah.
Either way, if you're voting pro or con, pesticides are still being used. It's non-unique. Just because we do organic agriculture doesn't mean pesticide usage is going to magically fall.
Exactly.
Does that make sense?
So what does that do? Well, that gets rid of the impact of pesticide use on either side. Because, since, as Tuba said, if that's true and pesticides are used in both aspects pretty much equally, then it doesn't matter whatever side you pick because it's going to be a problem no matter what.
And then the second one, the term that you put on less pesticides and environment, that's a term we call cross-apply. Meaning you put the same response on multiple parts of their argument because it fits with that argument. You can cross-apply multiple things to multiple sections.
Exactly. Yeah. And the advantage is even with blocks, and you should do this. You should cross-apply your own case because you spend so much time. You spend 4 minutes proposing your own arguments, right? Your own studies, your own important evidence, and you said it in a really, really great way. You have the strongest case. But if you don't apply that case, why does it matter, right? You have such strong studies and evidence, so take those studies and cross-apply them to your opponent's arguments and say that actually, I don't know, let's just say pesticide use, actually, organic agriculture uses more pesticides than conventional agriculture. Cross-apply our contention to subpoint B, which says exactly that, and therefore their contention 1 falls or something like that, right? You should do that, cross-apply as well. And you can write those in the blocks as well, because to be concise. So yeah, good arguments. So what about less tilling? What can we run against that?
They're still tilling.
Yeah, good. So non-uniqueness, essentially. So tilling is still there. What else? Do you guys remember what we said in the practice round, for those who were there? Yeah.
Does tilling increase soil erosion?
Yeah, but well, okay, but okay, so soil erosion is bad, right? And tilling is also bad. So if pro says there's less tilling, then it also means less soil erosion. So you can't run that against them. See what I'm saying? So what did we run in the practice round? Do any of you guys remember that? That organic has more tilling? Kind of. Okay, so what we said is that genetically modified organisms like GMO crops we have developed technologies that make it so that tilling isn't even necessary. So that's an argument you can have, that GMOs allow for no tilling. Obviously that has its positives and negatives, that argument, because it's not very common, no-till crops and stuff like that. But it exists. That's an argument that you can have that's somewhat strong at least. So yeah, good. So what about better for environment? Do we have at least one more?
Deforestation.
Oh, great. Awesome. Yeah. So yeah, you had one? Deforestation? Good. That's a big one, definitely. Anything else? Yeah. So global warming would go like underneath deforestation, right? It'd be a link chain with deforestation connecting that link. So yeah. Also, one more thing, increased land use. Remember that one? When you, since organic agriculture is less efficient, you have to use more land. So yeah.
Does that go under deforestation?
No. So this is so deforestation kind of goes under that in a way, but you can run them as separately. It can be either or. It depends on what you want to do.
Increased land use?
Yeah, because that's worse for the environment, right? So it's not just like in forested areas, even just general. Like for example, in South Dakota we have prairies, right? If you turn prairie land, that's native prairie land, into farmland, that's bad for the environment because not only are you killing off the organisms that used to live there, but you're also getting rid of like the carbon sinks that exist there. So yeah. Nice. What about human health? Good. So you'd say conventional agriculture has more nutrients, yeah? Good. That's a good argument. What else?
Organic farming leads to non-nutritional agriculture.
Good. So like affordability, which is the link to your impact of increased malnourishment. Good. So yeah, there, you have a whole link chain set up already there. So yeah, this one actually, conventional agriculture increases nutrients. Increasing nutrients makes human health better, right? Usually. So that's actually a turn. So you can take that, have a turn on their case, saying that actually human health is better on the con side because there's more nutrients in the produce that you got. Good.
The GMO stuff?
Yeah. Yep. So this would be another GMO argument, I guess. So yeah.
What's the other one? Affordability?
Yep, affordability, sorry. And then the impact is increased malnutrition.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, good job, guys. That's awesome. So yeah, blocks like these, thinking about them, which you guys should be doing. So because cases are all due tomorrow morning, right? Right as you go to breakfast, that's when cases are due. So the rest of the day, you have a little bit of time. What you should use that time is making these blocks with your partner. Think about all the potential arguments you can have. Obviously, these are the biggest arguments, and even the responses are the biggest stock responses you can have. You know, like, let's be honest, we're not going to tell everyone our best responses, right? So build on these, because now everyone knows them, right? So when you build on them, make them unique, etc., that's what you're doing tomorrow. So yes, very good.
Make sure you're not doing only those. You should have a lot of arguments that you should be testing.
Yeah, exactly. Not just these. You should have a lot more. So yeah, good call. So, con side. Why is organic agriculture bad? What are some stock arguments? Huh? Land use. Good. Anyone else? Yeah, I guess that, you could say deforestation as well. Anything else? Oh. With. That's more of like a turn, I would say. I wouldn't probably use that in case if I were you. Yeah. Yep, price, good. Go on? Oh no. Just one more. Let's do one more. Some stock arguments.
There's a very big one that we're missing.
You, profit, efficiency.
Yeah, we can do efficiency. That's good.
Not the one I was thinking.
Yeah.
I was thinking
Let's do that one too. Yep, climate.
Or greenhouse gases.
So less greenhouse gases. Alright.
More greenhouse gases.
Oh, yeah.
Organic.
Good. So, now let's figure out our responses. Does this one work? Yeah. How do we respond to more land use? This one's a hard one, that's for sure. So,
By rebuilding the soil is currently good. And so organic agriculture will rebuild the soil, thus increasing crop yield there. Maybe at the beginning there was small need for land expansion, but in the long term, that is a reversible impact because the crop yield will increase and therefore we have no need for the agriculture.
exactly. That's a really good argument. That's a really good weighing mechanism as well. So, you have land use, so you better soil equals long-term efficiency. And in fact, you can cross-apply that here as well. So that's what we'll do. Let's just do a star and then a star here. Good. That's a good argument. Anything else for land use? Do you have anything?
See, what I would argue against land use, I wouldn't go like directly against it. I would just kind of outweigh most of things. Like, I mean, yeah, it uses more land, but when we see that it's better for the environment and we see that it's better for human health, then that should be prioritized over the amount of land that we're using. That's how I would respond to
Yeah.
it. To each their own, but that's another
Yeah.
response that you can also use.
Exactly. Now, land use is a bit of a hard one because to really address that, you need to do a lot of research and have like sources saying stuff. You know, we can't really use logic necessarily to refute that as well. But that was a very good argument, though. Yes.
Actually, so there are like marginal lands that are currently unusable for conventional farming. But if you use organic farming and all that, not only would you be able to you would be able to grow crops on it. These lands that are currently not being used for agriculture, but been designated for agriculture from which are part of farmland, but they're not being used. And you can rebuild the soil there, so they are no longer marginal land. And so you use land that hasn't been used yet, still like set aside for agriculture.
Yeah.
And you made it better.
Good. Awesome. That's a great argument. So,
Using unusable land.
yeah. Awesome. That's a good argument too. Good, good, good. All right. Next, deforestation. How should we answer that?
Use the marginal lands.
That's true. Yep. So you can cross-apply that. What else? Yeah, this one's a bit hard too. Land use and deforestation are kind of hard to just use logic on. But I think you guys can do it. What else?
Anybody remember anything from practice time yesterday that I read off?
Go ahead.
Deforestation can decrease with organic farming, as a term that I placed.
Why was that again?
I have no idea. I didn't look through the whole.
Okay.
Frankly,
Uh,
I kind of like pulled it up.
We'll do a
So what's the random breakdown?
we'll do a hazard sign there because I have no idea either. All right. So, do more research on that one because you can probably find the same evidence as she did. And then, yeah, that's a good one. So, all right, let's move on to organic agriculture costs a lot. How do we respond against that? All right. So, healthier equals worth the cost. Nice. So yeah, outweighing, right? You're weighing human health versus cost. And you're saying that human health is more important than just price. So yeah. Yeah.
Technically, organic agriculture is only expensive because there's very little, like, there's less people doing it. So if you were to increase it, the price would thus have to go down based on supply and demand.
Exactly. Supply and demand is a really good argument. That's what I was going to say too. So supply, demand. All right. Quick micro econ lesson for you guys. All right. So you have a graph, right? So as demand goes up, demand graph, supply goes down. All right? This is the foundation for essentially all of economics, right? So whenever we have more organic agriculture, for example, and this is something that you'll use probably like literally throughout your high school career, like the simple concept of supply and demand. Whenever the supply of organic agriculture goes up, the price has to decrease, because if the demand remains the same and the supply goes up, that leaves you with a price that's like here. This is your price, right? But if you have a high demand but low supply, such as maybe I guess you could say with current organic agriculture, then the price is really, really high. All right? Yeah. Basically, very simple concept. As supply goes up and demand stays the same, prices drop. Just basic econ. All right, cool. So yeah, supply demand, very good argument against this. We see that if there is, well, none of us, well, we don't know exactly for sure. This is kind of like something that you can't necessarily just use logic on. If you can find evidence on the fact that, like, if organic agriculture, if there's more organic agriculture, then like it becomes cheaper, that's great. So yeah, good argument. All right, let's move on to efficiency. How do we respond against that? There's another argument along those lines that I'm thinking of. I think this argument's more about like the amount of yield you can get per acre or whatever it is. But yeah, that applies with like cost as well. So. All right, what I was thinking of was the more we have organic agriculture, the better the practice becomes and the better we get at it. And the better technology, the better developments of how we can grow things much better, more efficiently in the same amount of space organically, that gets better. So you can say in the long term, so in the short term, it may be bad, but in the long term, we'll all get better at it because we're increasing organic agriculture and the technology gets better. So long term, but the problem with this argument that you could have and you could bring up is that it's speculative. You don't know that it'll actually get better. How do we know that we haven't peaked in our like thought process of organic agriculture, right? We can't assume that necessarily, but if you have evidence to say that over time things have gotten better and that they will get better and things like that, very useful. So yeah. Alex? Wait, say that again? Oh yeah. Yeah, that's definitely true. And I mean, being from South Dakota, you know, like especially at SDSU, precision ag is a big field in South Dakota State, you know, and what they teach exactly. So, as we get better and better using artificial intelligence or using satellite imagery, GIS it's called, using that to make our fields much more efficient, make sure we water them correctly, fertilizer, the exact proportions for each plant, we can maximize the amount of output we get per acre per season. So as that gets better, we get more efficient overall. That's a very good argument. Smart farming, as technology increases, precision ag, etc., things get better. Good. So, greenhouse gas emissions with organic agriculture. How do we answer that? yeah, feel free to look this stuff up too. That's why you guys have laptops as well. So look up some arguments that you may think of. Yeah, let's talk to them. Talk through them. All right. In the meanwhile, I can just go ahead because there's one thing. It's a bit of a link chain that you can go at. But so conventional farming. Wait. Let's see.
Let's just start with the carbon trapping.
Okay, yeah, that works. That's good. Yeah, okay. So, traps carbon more than conventional? Yeah?
Yes.
Alright. How does it do that again?
On tilling?
Like, because you're not killing it, are you?
I mean, that's
It leaves roots in the soil.
This is a card that I wrote down. Any management practices used by organic agriculture, for example, minimum tillage, returning crop residues to the soil, the use of cover crops and crop rotation, the greater integration of nitrogen fixing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Increasing the return of carbon to the soil, raising productivity, and favoring carbon storage. Because of crop rotation and because like
Oh, like the organic practices? Yeah. Okay, yeah, that's definitely.
and low meal and stuff like that. Keep the nutrients like in the soil well enough, and when you're rotating crops, then like one nutrient isn't all taken away from the soil, so it replenishes it, I guess.
You could outweigh that with deforestation too, though.
Yeah, you could. You definitely can. Yep, that's definitely true. So, yeah, exactly. That's a good argument. Anything else, guys, from your research? Oh, yeah, sure. Sure. Okay. Okay, so we will take a pause on this one. You guys figure out what you can do on this one because I know for sure, and I will guarantee you this will be a big argument that you'll probably run into. So find blocks on them. These are just some of the stock arguments that you may come across. Use these blocks, use our discussion today for your advantage. And yeah, so let's make some blocks, make some cases. Let's do it. Any questions about blocks, rebuttal, stuff like that first? All good?
We have lunch in 30 minutes, so work on making your blocks and your cases until then. We will probably stay in here for today for the really long period, I think, right? But after lunch, we'll probably let you guys go out to the hallway and work if you want, but not leaving the building because we need you all. Is that my plan?
Yep. All right. How good are you guys? How confident are you guys on cases? Like understanding how to do cases? Good. All right. Good job, guys. Awesome. So have some fun with cases. You guys will enjoy. Get with your partners. Work on some stuff until lunch, which is at 12:30. Awesome. All right.